Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that his presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. Well, we are with Jesus, and Jesus has gone back to the temple there in Jerusalem. And you'll remember that Jesus rode into Jerusalem on the donkey, and everybody is basically proclaiming him king as the Messiah. And Jesus goes and looks at the temple, sees what's going on, and he leaves. And the next day he returns to the temple. And of course, on his way, he cursed the fig tree because it wasn't bearing any fruit. And then Jesus gets to the temple and he overturns the tables and he stops all of the buying and the selling and the money exchanging that's going on in the outer courtyard of the temple where the Gentiles were supposed to be able to come and pray. And so Jesus kind of disrupts everything and then he leaves. And then the next morning, you remember, they're on their way back and Peter sees that the fig tree is withered. And Jesus teaches him about prayer. And in essence, the disciples have become the new temple. Well, Jesus goes on back to the temple. And this upsets everybody. It's like he's returning to the scene of the crime, the audacity to go in and do such an irreverent thing at the temple. And now he's going to come back to the temple the next day. And so we pick it up at Mark chapter 11, verse 27. And they came again to Jerusalem. And as Jesus was walking in the temple, the chief priests and the scribes and the elders came to him. And they said to him, "By what authority are you doing these things? Or who gave you this authority to do them?" And so they want to know, Jesus, where are you getting the authority to do this stuff? Because we sure didn't give it to you. It's like we run the temple. We didn't give you permission to come in here and to start turning tables over and kind of stopping business as usual. So where did you get the authority to do this? Because we sure didn't grant it to you. And it's kind of like, again, they're blown away by the audacity of Jesus to return after what he did. And where did he get the authority to do that in the first place? And so they are coming down hard on Jesus. So Jesus responds, "I will ask you one question. Answer me, and I will tell you by what authority I do these things. Was the baptism of John from heaven or from man? Answer me." And so Jesus has this question for them about John. And they don't just answer the question. They stop and think about the consequences of their answers. Verse 31, "And they discussed it with one another, saying, 'If we say from heaven, he will say, why then did you not believe him? But shall we say from man?' Well, they were afraid of the people, for all held that John really was a prophet. And so they answered Jesus, 'We do not know.'" So rather than just answering, they think about the consequences of their answers. And if they acknowledge that John's authority came from heaven, then Jesus can charge them for not listening to John, rejecting his authority from heaven. So that puts them, at odds with God because God sent John, if they say from heaven. And if they say his authority wasn't from heaven, that John was just acting on his own, well, now all the people will turn against them because all the people held that John was a prophet. And so Jesus has asked them a question that basically traps them, that whatever answer they give is not a good answer. And so they simply say, "We don't know." And they try to dodge the question. And so Jesus responds to them then, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things." So if you're not going to answer me about John's authority, I'm not going to answer you about my authority. You're going to have to figure it out on your own. And so Jesus kind of puts it back on them. Now, their question is actually a really good question. By what authority are you doing these things? That's the question that we all have to wrestle with. By what authority does Jesus act? By what authority does Jesus teach? And are we willing to acknowledge that authority? That's really been the question all through the Gospel of Mark from those early miracles on. We've never seen anyone teach with the authority that he teaches with. By what authority does he break the Sabbath? By what authority does he do miracles? By what authority does he forgive sins? By what authority does he walk on water? By what authority does he calm wind and waves? That's really been the big question all through, is who is this guy and where does he get his authority? And so their question is a good question. And, we have to answer that question. We have to figure it out. And when we realize that Jesus operates as the authority, with the authority as the Son of God, that the Father has granted him all authority, then the real question becomes, what's our response to his authority? And my prayer is that we would respond appropriately to the authority of Jesus, and that we would trust him, that we would obey him, that we would live by his authority. And rather than, protesting against his authority, that we would actually welcome his authority. Well, God bless. Have a great day. Think about that question some. And then how well do we live under the authority of Jesus? God bless.